afternoon, everybody, on this nice sunny day. Probably one of the last few days of the sun we're gonna have this season. It's been getting a little colder, and like today in particular, it's about 75 degrees out, so it's definitely not as hot as it was before. Hopefully we're gonna have another couple weeks or so of nice weather. We'll be able to get in the water, but we might just have to switch on to the bike soon. So today we wanted to test out the stability of this board. We've seen so many different reviews and like people basically questioning the stability of inflatable boards overall, and this board in particular. So we wanted to take it into like two different categories. So one is be like the moderate waves you see right now, and the second category would be a little more intense waves, about what 3 to 4 feet or so. So far this board is doing pretty well. I don't have to balance any extra to be in the to get to those waves, so I'm not having any issues, pedaling here at all. It does what it's supposed to do. I think those long fins are definitely helping to make it a little more stable. It also does pretty well as a kayak in those waves. No problems at all. In my test, I think it passes this first moderate wave test. I guess we'll see what happens during the next test. Let's see how it does. We're gonna try to step it up a notch a little bit and take it up into more intense waves. As you could tell, it's actually hard getting in the water because the waves are pretty strong and they're pretty high. So it definitely at first, I guess the first challenge trying to get in and stand up, and that's what we're gonna try to do today. Not a simple thing. The video probably doesn't really show the magnitude of the waves to a full extent, but it's definitely challenging, to say the least. And what makes it a little more challenging is the wind, because the wind is actually trying to pull you one way, and then the waves are trying to pull you the other way. So it makes it impossible to get up and start pedaling. Just like I promised you at the beginning of the video, and I kind of made a promise to myself, is I'll try to get up no matter how tough the waves are. And that's what I'm gonna try to do. Just gotta find a good spot, good place to do it. And one thing about those waves, they go into so that there are larger waves coming on right in front of me, and then there's some little ones somehow break and they go on the side. And it's kind of funny. You get like 7 waves, and then the 7th, well, you get 6 waves, and the 7th one is actually the one that's going to be the largest and the most intense. So the trick is to find a good place to get up and balance yourself. And that's what I'm going to try to attempt to do. We'll see. Now the board is rocking pretty much 4 directions at this point, so it does make it a little more challenging to get up. But I'm going to try. Oh, nope. I'm trying. Nope. It is. Yeah. I guess you could say the first attempt failed, but I'm going to keep trying until I can make it happen, and at least get a couple minutes in the water to test this board out. The camera probably doesn't do it justice, but those are some rough seas. Those are kind of seas you probably wouldn't even take the smaller boat out, and the wind gusts are pretty strong as well. Makes it a little more difficult to balance and to get up, or to even just to maneuver on the board. But I'm gonna keep trying, and I promise you by the end of the video we're gonna have at least a couple minutes on the board to test out the stability in those challenging waves. So we'll see. Let's see. I'm trying. I just went out a little bit away from the shore, so the waves are not as bad. I mean, they're still pretty intense here, but they're not as bad as they are by the shore. Just don't want to go out too far, because if I fall off the board, then it might be a little tougher to get back on. And I am wearing a life jacket, but it is challenging in those conditions. I finally found a good time to actually get on, and I'm on. I'm standing on the board just like I promised at the beginning of the video. I'm gonna test it up. I'm gonna take it up a notch and test it in more rigid water. It's actually holding up, so not bad so far. It is challenging. I do feel my legs a lot, but it has nothing to do with the board. I'm sure the epoxy boards will have the same problem in those waters, because the waves are coming over from different sides and they're very sharp, and that makes it a little challenging to balance. But I'm okay standing on in this climate. I have no problems. The only thing I probably wouldn't be able to do it for that long, because after a while your legs just get tired and you're risking of pretty much falling off the board. I think overall I'm very impressed with the handling that this of this board in those rough conditions. Because one of the differences between the epoxy or fiberglass boards and inflatables, the epoxy sits a little below the water in those type of conditions, and the inflatable is above the water. So you have to fight the wind, and there's a strong wind. It could pull you in a totally different direction that you're trying to go. Makes you kind of put a little more effort into trying to stay a course. But the board did pretty well. I don't think, like I said, I didn't really have any problems balancing, and it is, I kind of started feeling my legs a little bit, so I think I'm gonna turn back in a little bit, because it's, you get to the point where you just, your legs are getting tired, and you have to kind of get back. But honestly, anybody on the fiberglass board will probably have the same issue in those waves, because those are not simple conditions. Alright, I think it's time for me to turn back, because it is getting to the point when my legs are definitely tired and I want to be able to get back to the shore. But my overall, I guess, the results of this wave test, I think, in my opinion, it passed. Please let me know if you disagree. I think I did pretty well in those conditions. And of course, the toughest thing here now is trying to get back to the shore, because the waves are hitting you from different directions. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And please comment and subscribe. And until next time, thank you.